You look great. Hello.
Hi.
I recorded that right at the right time. Hello, Miss Brandy,
Hello.
and welcome everybody to the Scoop Weddings Unveiled. This is number 30.
I was gonna say, is it 30?
The Dirty 30.
30. Oh, we gonna get dirty.
Are we that? Well, it's
I
going to
mean,
get hot.
kinda,
It's going to
gonna
get hot. If you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying. No, it's just going to get sweaty.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. We've got Brandy Harlan, your beautiful wedding planner, non-retired, because we still have some things to talk about.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I am Tim Schaus, TLS Entertainment, your premier wedding DJ. Yeah, it's going to be a good one. So
With TLS Entertainment.
I said TLS.
Okay, I missed that part. I'm distracted by your shirt.
I
It's a good distraction.
so I've got. Hold on. Let me just go on me real quick.
It's very tropical.
It's very tropical. It's
I'm
like
loving
a
it.
baby blue, and then it has like little martinis on it. It's got parrots, palm trees.
That's a lime martini too. Look,
Yeah.
or lime margarita of some sort. There's some limes and palm trees and poinsettias.
If you're on YouTube, you can see the video of my
right.
shirt.
Right.
Hi.
I like it. And he's all tan too.
I'm
He's been outside.
playing some golf
He's
in the
been
office.
outside. That's what we're gonna talk
Yeah.
about.
Oh my God, yes. But no, this is shout out to Waggle. If any golf enthusiasts, Waggle is a golf attire.
Nice.
Waggle. They've got some amazing shirts.
I like the one you posted the other day too.
Oh yes,
the
that
hat
was
and
that
yeah.
Waggle. Yeah. Holla.
I like it.
Non.
Can we get some sponsorship?
I know.
for our podcast? I'll wear some Waggle.
I'll wear. They have female
Definitely.
attire. They have
Bring it
women.
on.
Yeah. But yes, we're going to talk about the outdoors today.
Yeah.
But we're going to start by story time.
Okay. I love story time
but
with Tim.
Yeah, story time with Tim. But first, how have the last couple weeks been for you? Like, what's going on with the retreat?
Yeah.
Tell me.
I'm so excited. We booked an 11/11/23 wedding.
This year.
Yes.
Nice.
In 2 months.
In 2 months.
Yes.
How many?
So
Like,
excited.
Tell us about it. What's
Second marriage, older couple,
Okay.
super adorable and cute.
How
about
old?
50.
Okay.
I would say 50 guests is what I was going to
Oh, okay.
say, but I would say they're about 50.
Okay.
Yeah, like late 40s, early 50. Just a super cute couple. Really excited for the Applebee wedding.
The Applebee. Well, I hope they've literally hired everybody else.
So, yeah, about that.
Because my entire team we are booked.
Yeah, so here's what I've done because I know and they didn't want to be overwhelmed. One of them has like a government job, one has a nonprofit job, so it's just a lot. And she was getting overwhelmed with like all the things that they need to do to hire, right?
Yeah.
So I was kind of walking them through the list of like, okay, so what are you thinking for this? What are you thinking for this? Almost like a vision meeting. And then I was trying to point them in different directions of that and for vendors. And I was like, why don't we just do this? First of all, let's start your own wedding email because
Oh yes. Yep.
do that first. So they're like, okay, what will it be? And I gave them it's their first and it's both of their names, the word and in between. I don't want to give away their names, but 1111@gmail.
Oh, okay.
Okay, cool. So that's done. Now we're going to I'm going to send you all your vendors. I said I'm going to help you pick out your vendors. I'm going to reach out to them before I send them to you to make sure they have the date available so that you're not chasing people and because you just frankly don't have the time.
Yeah.
And so Cornerstone was booked. She's like, we've been booked for 2 years. I was like, yeah, I kind of figured, but I thought I'd try. So I also sent them Planet Events. They're available. And
What's Planet Events?
Evan Potter. She does the balloons, but they also do
yeah.
catering.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so she's available because I posted on Swell. Hey, I need catering for 11/11/2023 on the Swell event page.
Oh, there's like a Facebook?
Facebook page. You gotta get added to that since you're gonna be new.
Well, yeah, that's cool.
So you'll be on that page, but you post when you're looking for certain vendors for certain things. I was like, all right, let me just like knock this out. I need a caterer for 11/11/23. So Planet Events is available. Exotic Gourmet is available, but it's also her birthday. So we're starting with Planet Events, see how that goes, and then if not, we're gonna move on to Exotic Gourmet because I don't want her to work on her birthday.
Yeah.
She's like, if you have to.
Okay.
I'll do it. As far as music goes, they wanted some live music for the ceremony, and then they're gonna like do their own playlist deal.
Oh, so they don't even plan on having a
No,
DJ or
it's
anything.
more of a mingle. They're not even using our biggest space. They're using our retreat center. So that's
Okay.
more like lounging and couches and communal tables and bar tops and high tops and alfresco dining outdoors, that kind of thing. So it's very much like simple, low key, but they love heavier food because they know it's going to be about that time that people want to eat something heavier. So it's going to be a lot of heavier appetizers, not really buffet or plated. More action style and just mingling. Like they're like, we're older. It's our second marriage.
Yeah.
Like we're just gonna do a vibe.
There you go.
And so that's really I've put them in touch with florals so they can have bouquets, of course, and then just some simple centerpieces. We have a lot of our own decor, like vases and terrarium type octagon things that they can utilize, and they're really great friends with our director of operations, so they kind of get their run of the mill of using our things and our silverware and chargers and lanterns for the walkway. So they're literally going to pick a tree or a set of trees like 3 weeks out because they're not quite sure which set of trees they want to use. And then they're having cocktail hour over to the left of the trees by our alfresco dining so that people can literally walk into, if it's Rain Plan, the gathering place, or they can walk into the through the alfresco dining into the Great Center, the retreat center.
Okay, cool.
So super simple.
I've never been, so I can't vision anything.
You've got to come visit.
And I'm sure a lot of people who are listening to this have never been either.
No. So go on
thank you for all those details. And we're just like, oh my God.
Right. But go on my Instagram and you'll be able to see, like, we have a lot of oak trees that are just intertwined, or there's pairs of them. We're on 84 acres, so we have a lot of land, but the main building is called our retreat center. It's very, it's kind of a lot of wood, like shiplap on the outside, but natural. Yeah. And it looks like a dining room, like a living room almost. It's got couches and things when you first walk in. Sure. And then there's like a hallway corridor that opens up to a big, huge communal dining tables, massive kitchen, commercial kitchen, stove, refrigeration, outdoor seating area. And then off the back of that porch area are a lot of like tree areas. So for ceremony.
Well, I'm excited to see your first wedding. It'll be your first one, right?
It'll be our first one. Yep.
First one. All right. Awesome.
Yay. So that's what happened this week.
Okay.
And a lot of I have a second one that's booked for 420. They're coming in this week to finalize everything. And then I have March booked, wedding in March.
Finalize the date?
Finalize the date. Yeah, finalize and do their payment and all that good stuff.
Got
They're
it.
coming in this week. And I have 3 or 4 that are looking at full venue use with all of our accommodations, 28 rooms to sleep, rehearsal dinner, and all that good stuff.
That's cool.
So yeah, so a lot. And I did a really great tour today, and they're interested in doing the whole
How are they
entire
finding you?
Organically, Instagram, Google.
Are you guys doing Google ads?
No.
Oh.
Really? I know.
Well, then what are they searching to like?
I need to ask more specific about what they're searching because this couple today said they were looking for something that was natural and outdoors. And so I'm assuming that's what was maybe in their search. But we're outdoors. We have all the nature. Nature. We got that because we're conservation land. So our land will never be developed. We're part of the Conservation Foundation.
Okay.
So most people are being just like by Google and Instagram and hashtagging and things of that nature because we haven't paid for any advertising. Wow. But come September, we're going to start running some Facebook, Instagram ads and see what that looks like.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah. So I had a lot of leads this month. I had like 27 leads come in.
That's great. That's awesome.
Organically.
And so you guys are like you can be outdoor, but you also have an indoor capability. So
everything outdoor, everything indoor, or or a little bit of both.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Well,
what happened in your world?
A couple weeks ago, I was in our last podcast, we had talked about how I had a wedding on Friday. Well, that Friday has come and gone, and it was an outdoor wedding. And let me just remind everybody that if you are listening to this podcast, we are in August.
In Florida.
West
Coast.
It is hot as balls.
I like to say it's hotter than the devil's armpit.
Okay, that works just as well. I was in Bradenton on a private property, and it was actually like a mansion. It was a beautiful home, but everything was outdoor.
I did like the views that you sent.
Oh, the views were awesome. I mean, like you have It's a big lawn. Like everything is just, it was just awesome. It was beautifully done. Um, there's a lawn. You've got the house, like the mansion, as like the background. The other background is the ocean, and you've got the Skyway Bridge right there,
That's awesome.
which you can see from their backyard, which
That's
is
gorgeous.
I mean, it's out in the distance, but you can see it in plain daylight. It's
Yeah. And
awesome.
probably at night you can see it too because they do all the colors
Yeah.
on it. Yeah.
Yeah. It was actually really cool. But again, my thoughts as a vendor, as especially in entertainment, is okay. Is there coverage? Is there a tent? Where am I going to be? And everything was literally, they're like, oh no, we're not utilizing any of the house. Everything's outdoor on the lawn. And I was like, okay, do you, what's, and also let me tell you, it's 95 degrees out.
And it feels like 110.
And it feels like 110. And add humidity to that.
It's awful.
And I was the only one in direct sunlight the entire time the sun was out. I don't know how that happened, but I was going to bring a tent, but they had like this beautiful they had this dance floor, and then I believe it was Palacio Events.
Oh, did he do like all those
Yeah.
columns?
He did the column. You saw it, right?
Yeah.
He did 4
I
columns.
thought that was part of the property.
No, that Palacios did that.
Oh, that's awesome.
I believe it was Palacio. So
He's the one who does those columns.
Yeah.
Typically.
it was really cool and like good to know like for future for like outdoor events or weddings. But they had 4 columns surrounding the dance floor with like lighting on top.
Oh, so he framed it nice.
Yes, it was very cool. So I was like, well, I would love to have a tent for myself, just so 1, my equipment doesn't overheat,
Yeah.
and 2, I don't overheat.
Because that would be bad.
But I realized that the tent that I had, I didn't check this ahead. I brought it out, and everything's black and white.
yeah.
Everything's black and white. My tent has a blue cover on it. I'm like,
Oh,
son of a biscuit.
no.
I'm like, you know what? I can't do that. I can't put a blue tent
No.
over top of me. It would just ruin the whole vibe.
Yeah.
I'm not about that. Like I will suffer through this entirety of the ceremony and while the sun is out. And of course, as the sun was setting literally right across from me. So it was blaring at me the entire time.
Okay, so
And
who was in
the guests actually had coverage because trees were covering them.
I was going to ask, who's in the shade?
Everybody else. No joke, everybody else is in the shade. Cornerstone was there.
Well, I saw Cornerstone. Oh yeah, they were under the trees.
They were under the trees, but they were still hot.
Oh yeah, she texted me because
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know you guys were at the same wedding. I was
Yeah.
like, oh wait, you guys are working together.
Well, I think her sister like owns the property or something.
Oh, a friend of her. That's the property she was telling me about. It's a friend. It's her best friend's sister or something like that.
Something, yeah.
Ah, now it's all
Yeah,
making sense.
It's all coming. So
Yeah.
it was miserable to say the least for me. But we powered through. We suffered through. But it was it was beautifully done, and the couple was amazing. They were so cool. The couple, the bride, I should say, didn't want any photos of them posted on social media. They could post the wedding if they wanted to, but they didn't want any photos of she and her husband,
Oh.
or the groom, posted on social media before the professional photos come out in the video.
Okay. How do you prevent that?
Just
Don't let nobody take a picture.
well,
I
no.
mean,
She just made me. She had me make announcements at the beginning of the ceremony. It was an unplugged ceremony,
mhm.
thankfully. Ceremony, and then as guests went to go take their seat for during cocktail hour, just remind them hey, you guys can take photos, but please do not. If you're going to take photos with the couple, do not post them on social media until
Yeah.
later. I don't know why. I guess she just wanted to see professional photos and not camera photos. I don't know.
I mean,
She was very particular, but overall that was the
I
only.
guess it would be just hard to how do you?
I mean, there were 40 guests.
Okay, so that's easier.
and
to
it was
corral,
it
and you're
was
probably
also
friends with them all on socials.
It was a destination wedding, and that's also why we were all outdoor.
It seemed
They were all from Pittsburgh.
Oh, well, honestly, it seemed very like they were going for a Miami vibe to them.
Well, they had. I'm not sure what the
all
vibe that they were
white,
going.
it just seemed very like South Beach.
I just felt very bad for everybody everybody was in black except for the bride. and the groom literally had to, like, they did photos beforehand, and he was wearing, like, he had to take off his jacket and his shirt and let it dry out in the sun before the ceremony started. He was soaked.
Oh boy.
Yeah. But overall, it was a wonderful, wonderful wedding. However, like I had many meetings beforehand,
Yeah.
like via Teams or via like Zoom and everything, and like phone calls. And one of my last questions, and I said, I don't want to ask this, but I have to. I don't want to like jinx anything. But in the summer in Florida, it always rains somewhere.
Yeah.
It's either going to rain where you are or it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Like 50-50.
And it's usually about the same time.
And it's usually between
4 and 6.
I was going to say between 3 and 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
3 and 6, yeah. And so I asked her, I was like, I hate to say this, but do you have a rain plan? And she said, no, I was planning on just dancing in the rain. I said, okay. And she's like, but now that I'm talking to you, I realize that you have equipment that you probably don't want to get wet. I said,
And
that is
catering,
correct.
You can't let
She didn't care about that.
like water all over. Okay,
I mean,
rain,
the
rain
food,
on the food.
it is what it is.
Okay.
She had zero rain plan. She was just hoping for the best, reaching out to
She gave no F's.
0 F's.
Okay.
She was hoping to the wedding gods that everything was going to turn out just fine. And luckily, there was no rain, and I kept my eye on the radar, and there was 0 rain in that area. The only thing that was brutal was the heat.
So whatever prayer she did, I want to know what she said.
Yeah. So, so it was
That's
overall, it was a beautiful wedding. We danced the night away. The other thing about like having a wedding on a private property like that is they're very strict on sound.
Mm-hmm.
And noise ordinance. Like noise ordinance is actually 11 o'clock there, like we had mentioned before.
Yeah.
But at 10 o'clock, the neighbors start bitching.
Did they call and make noises or make?
They did around like 10:05. At 10:05, I literally had them like I was doing the last dance alone, and I was getting everybody else lined up in the front of the house. And
so they were done. They were done at 10.
They were done at 10. Yeah.
Okay.
But I did like an encore song.
Yeah.
Because they weren't ready to go, and I was like, "Fine, I'll do one more." And so, yeah, like 10 o'clock, I did like another last dance, like encore song. I was like, "All right, y'all got to go to the front, get ready for our special send off." And I had the couple do their last dance alone, which is beautiful. I mean, again, under like the columns were lit up with up lights, and they had the like the Christmas like white lights on top as like acting as like stars, like you're dancing
that's great.
under the stars. It was really cool. And so the owner of the property comes up to me. She's like, "Hey, are we done?" I was like, "Yeah, we're just doing the last dance alone." And I brought the music down a little bit so it wasn't so loud, but you could still hear everybody, all of her guests out front hooting and hollering. And she's like, "Is there anywhere that you can get them to stop?" I'm like, "I'm nowhere near them," because I guess the neighbors were still
and
like
they don't
complaining.
have a planner.
And they don't have a planner. She was technically the planner.
So she should probably have gone out and said, "Hey."
Yeah, and I think she did.
Probably.
But I was like, I got nothing for you. And the funny thing is,
what were you supposed to do? Get loud over the microphone?
I know, right? Shut up!
Say, "Can you guys quiet down?"
While they're doing their last dance alone. The crazy thing is, so they're all getting ready. They have like the little sparklers like you get for like the 4th of July.
That last 2 seconds.
But the funny thing is, they're doing their last dance. In the middle of the last dance, I look behind me. They have the sparklers lit.
Oh gosh, this is what no planner. This is what
I'm like,
happens.
Oh my God! Like we just started this dance. They're doing, and like the bride is bawling because she's just enjoying the moment with her husband and just like soaking it all in. So like I waited for like a second, and I waited for like a good spot in the song, like after like a crescendo, and I came like back down. I was like, "Hey, I'm so sorry to ruin this moment, but they lit the sparklers and they're going off." And she's like, "I don't give a fuck about the sparklers right now. I just want to enjoy this with my husband." And I'm like, "You go, girl. I'm gonna go over here."
As you disappear.
Yes, and I was like, "Okay," and
maybe
so
they had an extra set of sparklers.
They didn't.
Oh, okay.
And so
somebody had to like superimpose that in for later.
There was no photographer. The photographer had already left.
Oh, then the sparklers don't even matter then.
It really didn't. It was just
It's fine.
So close to the end of the song, they're like, "Okay, we've had our moment," and so they start running over. And they're like, "What the hell?" And it was just it was fine.
Funny.
Afterwards, I apologized tremendously. I was like, "I'm so sorry for coming up to you during that last like your dance alone. I tried to wait for like a good moment." And she's like, "No, it's totally fine. Like I completely understand. They're idiots for whatever. It's fine." And overall, it was a great evening. All this to lead us into our topic of discussion today, which is, what is the topic?
How to plan an outdoor wedding or event.
Tips on planning an outdoor.
It's like, how do we say this? Besides,
Tips.
don't do it.
Yeah. No, well,
I mean,
tips. All right. We've got, all right. So the topic is tips on planning an outdoor wedding.
Yes.
There it is.
There it
That's
is.
that's your topic.
We'll go with it.
Topic. Tips for planning an outdoor wedding. So, that being said, if you are planning an outdoor wedding, whether it's a wedding venue that has outdoor capabilities like the Retreat Sarasota,
Yeah.
Whether you are doing it on your own private property
Yep.
and you're doing everything outdoor,
Yep.
whatever it may be, there are some things that you should definitely take into consideration. One,
A rain plan.
that is number one.
That's number one.
Rain, plan B.
Yeah. Rent that tent 6 months in advance.
Yes.
Like, put your deposit down.
Now, and I say this,
Somewhere.
and this isn't only in the summer. Now, I will say there are summer weddings are very few and far between here in Florida, especially in general in Florida.
Yeah.
But they do happen because we have people that are from out of state, like a couple weeks ago, and they don't care.
And that's not really on their radar,
No.
right? Like, and that's where having a planner or having a point person is important, because they're going to tell you, okay, so I'm just going to point out the obvious.
Yes.
And this is the obvious.
So yes. So tip number one. Have a rain plan.
Yep.
After you choose your outdoor venue, if everything is outdoor, if there is no part of having anything indoors, have a rain plan.
Yes.
And what does that look like? Well, like Brandy said, number 2, have a tent on standby.
Yeah. And I priced out some tents recently because I've got a lot of people who are looking at our outdoor pavilion area, because we're building a pavilion out on our west lawn, and they want to know, okay, how do I, what's the tent cost for putting a tent next to the pavilion if I want to do everything outdoor? I just got a quote from US Tent. We're talking $35,000 to $5,000 depending.
Depending
and
on
that's
the
for
size.
150 people but that includes the dance floor. Like, that doesn't include like the dance floor, the tables and
Does
chairs.
not include that. It's just the tent, right?
Just the tent.
Just the coverage.
Setting it up. That does,
Breaking it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that 3,500 to $5,000 is for roughly 100 to 150 guests.
150 to 200.
Oh, 100. Okay.
Yeah. I think the full-on quote that I got for 150 people with a dance floor, tables and chairs, sweetheart table, buffet tables, the barrette for the bar, the double stack bar, and the tent, all the sleeves covered, like all the poles covered. We were looking at around 7,500 to 8,000.
Okay, and that actually covers a lot of your rentals to begin with, which is good.
Yep.
That doesn't include chairs.
That includes chairs.
It does include, well, and it depends on what type of chairs you go with.
These were the white padded folding chairs.
Okay.
So
okay.
the nicer
Yeah.
resin chairs.
Yep.
Yeah. So $8,000 all in.
So if you're local to the Sarasota, like in the Sarasota, Tampa area, US Tent Rentals does that. What other rental companies?
A's Rental does it as well.
A's Rental.
So they'll do tents. I don't know of any other tent companies. I've never used any other tent company.
There's another one A's Rental and US Tent. I mean, those are a US Tent would be like my go-to. I just know about. There's another one that I can see in my brain, but I can't.
Is it all event?
All Event,
All
yes.
Event Rental. Isn't that used to be through Beneva, or maybe it was through
I think,
Beneva
All
or
Event
something?
Rental.
Yeah, All Event Rental. I don't know their capacity for a number of tents, like their sizes and whatnot.
But they do rentals
they
of
do
sort.
rentals, yeah.
But that's somebody to call. So All Events and Rentals, or All Event Rentals. A's, what is it? A's
Rental.
A's Rental,
Gavin
and
and his brother.
then US Tent is the main one here in the area, so covering Sarasota and Tampa.
And so at the end of the day, if you're like, okay, I don't need the tent, and you know that you're gonna cancel it, you just talk to them about what that cancellation policy looks like, because they've got it on hold. But you could potentially save $35,000 to $5,000 off of that $8,000.
But definitely have a hold on it, because it is very important. You don't want you and your guests to be just miserable
And you don't
because
want to be trying to find one last minute either,
Right.
because you just won't.
we got hurricanes, people.
Sorry.
Not that not that
We're
you would
in
have
hurricane season.
not that you would have a wedding during a hurricane, but you might.
But it could be
it's rainy.
a lot of rain. Yeah, there could be rain on the outer bands or
and
outer
I will
areas.
say even this, and I hate to say this, even tents won't keep the rain out.
Not unless you have walls.
So I did a wedding. I did a wedding out on
Most of the
Siesta
time.
Key,
Yeah.
and it was like they had a tent. They actually weren't. It wasn't supposed to rain much, and it
Yeah.
was a torrent. It was a monsoon
Coming
and
in sideways, I bet.
inside, but it flooded inside the covered area. So all my gear I had to pull up, and I had to put everything away.
So that's something you need to talk to your venue about. Like, okay, does this area flood? If we're doing a tent out here, what does that look like? Because here's the thing. Water's going to travel. If you're on any kind of land, you have to know like where that's at and what that looks like. So have your venue check it out. Hey, next time it rains really hard, can you check and see like
Where does the water travel to?
where does it travel? Where does it go? Like where's the exit points for it? Because it's going to go where it normally goes. Like we just can't make that up, right?
Yeah.
So it's good to know how mushy
Yes.
it might get, because your dance floor is there. However, your dance floor sits in it doesn't it sits kind of a little bit of an angle, but it has the edging on it to flush it out, but water can rise above that.
Yep. So that being said, so 1, have a rain plan.
Yes.
2, get a tent. 3, and this is really in no particular order, but you should also think of having a wedding planner or a coordinator for day of or month of, whatever that may look like.
No matter where you live.
No matter where you live.
Have one here. It makes sense.
Have one here.
Yeah, because if you live
do you mean have one here?
if you live in Pennsylvania,
Uh-huh.
hire a planner that's
gotcha.
here.
Oh, yes, right.
Don't hire a Pennsylvania planner thinking that they can come.
No, they can do it all. No,
Oh yeah, they
you
know
want,
weddings. It doesn't. No, it's a different animal over here on the
you want
west
somebody.
coast of Florida.
You want somebody who's knowledgeable in this area. But yeah, so I mean, if you're doing a wedding, if you're doing like a DIY in your backyard, which is great. I mean, I've done some beautiful weddings. Shoot, my own wedding was a DIY in my sister's backyard, and they have 2 acres, and it was beautiful. I had a wedding planner.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. So wedding planner, rain plan, backup plan. Make sure you have a tent on hold. What's another tip that you would suggest? I would suggest make sure that there's enough light.
So electricity is important.
Electricity is very important.
So when there isn't electricity, you have to figure out what that looks like for your vendors, and you have to be able to accommodate all your vendors utilizing that electricity. So maybe your catering company brings a generator with them, or they rent one. So I would check on that. Your DJ needs power. Your photographers, they need power too. Like sometimes they're going to plug some things in to charge or to download or whatever it might be. So you need that electricity. Also, bathrooms.
Yes,
bathrooms are going to need electricity. So figuring out what that looks like, or if they come equipped with it, are they quiet, things of that nature.
Now, I will say I would not recommend getting like a porta potty.
No, we're not
There are some like
Royal
luxury,
Thrones.
yes, there are some luxury mobile bathrooms that are dropped off on site.
Yes.
And they will come back and they will they have AC in them,
running water,
all the things,
multiple stalls. And just because we say luxury doesn't mean they cost a lot. Like they're not that much. It's a convenience, definitely, that your guests will appreciate.
And it's not an eyesore either.
No, they're nice.
Yeah,
they're kind of offset to the side. And shoot, if you don't like the front of them or however they are, then you can call your florist or whoever, and they can put up some type of screening and some, you can put up some florals and things like that in front, or trees and things like that, plants. Make it nice. But bathroom access. So electricity is important. I'd say in addition to the electricity is the Wi-Fi. A lot of people don't realize this is when you're doing something DIY in your backyard or on a large property, photographers really rely a lot on that Wi-Fi, because everything's digital and they need to be able to download things. And if it doesn't download properly, and I only know this because it's happened, they didn't connect, the photos didn't download, they changed out their card, replaced it, whatever, lost the card, and the photos are gone.
Okay, well, with that being said,
yes,
as a DJ,
Mm-hmm.
we technically rely on Wi-Fi as well.
Yes.
However, I always tell my DJs never rely on Wi-Fi.
Yep.
And if you need it, you purchase it.
Yep.
So I'm sorry, photographers, if you rely on Wi-Fi, like.
But that's a question to ask your photographer.
True.
Like, hey, we're out in the boonies, or where cell reception isn't great.
Well, honestly, I feel like
what does that look like for you to
Okay.
to ensure
like
that the photos are
both
downloaded?
parties should probably be wanting to ask that question.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a two-way street.
that is a two-way street. I don't think the couples should necessarily be held accountable if there's no
No.
Wi-Fi.
But they should ask the question to make sure that the photographer
I
knows.
I think the
Because if the photographer doesn't have they don't know that, they're not on top of that, they're probably not as professional as maybe you would want them to be.
That's a good point.
So that's kind of a way to weed out, like, oh,
Or
they're
they should,
not
or they should
prepared.
have plenty of SD cards so they
yeah. Like, what
have
does that
enough memory
yeah,
to take
like
all
how
the
many
photos.
do you plan on shooting?
Yeah.
Do you continue to, because I've seen like people trade out. I've seen and I've read so many horror stories. So
Mhm.
I try to make sure. And we don't have great, service out at the retreat, Sarasota. It's good, but out by the reflection pond where we're redoing that whole pond area, we're going to have to put in some boosters and some Wi-Fi out there, and that's expensive. So at this point, we're just kind of working on putting the electricity, making sure our Sonos speakers are all good and hooked up, ready to go, so that our DJs and music, whoever's doing the music can plug into it wirelessly into our Sonos speakers and just run the music. So they're not trying to bring speakers.
And that's for like background music. That's not for dancing.
No, that's for like ceremony.
Yeah, that's for like
Yeah.
ceremony
So
or
that you don't
like
have to set
cocktail
up another
hour.
speaker somewhere, because
Yeah.
the reflection pond is quite a ways back into the property, and so typically that would be where ceremony is, and reception would be closer up to the front of the property. So that also keeps the DJ from having to bring speakers and run wires and cords and electricity and all that.
Yep. Fair.
So
All
that's
right.
like tip number 1,000,002.
What other if another tip actually, and they had this at a couple weeks ago, bring out fans.
Yes.
Bring out mobile fans. I mean, you have to, and again, this is where electricity comes into play because there was very little electricity on this property, especially where I was located. So, and make sure that either you, the couple, or make sure your vendors have enough, extension cords to grab the power.
Yeah.
But yeah, fans. Rent some fans that will try and keep your guests cool if while it's hot out, and if you're in the
Thrones of August. But also knowing the floor plan for your space and knowing where those electrical outlets are with your planner will help you figure out the best setup for all of your vendors to utilize that electricity the best. Because one whole section of that yard or whatever may not have any electrical outlets, and now you're like, okay, great. Your day of, you don't have enough electrical cords. All your vendors need electric, and you're running some additional vendors that require, photo booth and that kind of stuff. Like those require more electricity.
Yeah.
Where are you going to get that from?
Yeah. Another idea is if you know that you're doing an outdoor wedding here in Florida, take attire into consideration for your guests. This was a black tie event, black tie wedding a couple weeks ago, and everybody was dying. I was like, I would typically, for a black tie, I would wear a suit. But knowing that we were outdoors and where this was located, I wore slacks and a polo.
And that's the thing.
In all black, but
they're not even from here. So if us Floridians are not participating in this weather in a black tie event outdoors, why do you think you can come from the north and it be not so bad?
But just keep that in. I mean, keep that in mind, though. Like,
satin dresses are not a good idea for your girls. Yeah. It's just.
I mean, everybody was sweating through, just soaked, and I felt. I mean, I was soaked, and even at night when I was packing up, like I always have a change of clothes when I set up and when I break down. I have like my athleisure, branded, of course, with TLS, but I was literally dripping at 11 o'clock at night when I was packing up.
It's like so thick you can cut it. It's not good.
So take that into consideration, like the attire for your guests. Obviously, you as the couple will wear what you want to wear, and you will choose ideally what you want your bridal party to wear. But yeah, keep that in consideration for your
Absolutely.
guests. And then also another idea is if you don't have, or even if you do have fans on site, like mobile fans, bring those little personal fans.
Yeah, that would be a
like
great gift.
they're like a little, and you can customize it with your date, with your
Especially
name.
for out of town guests, like that should
Yeah.
be a part of like their welcoming basket when they arrive. Like, okay, this is you're
They
gonna
did
need
have
this
that.
later.
They actually did have that
Oh, that's good.
for the ceremony, which was nice.
Or I saw a on Party Slate. I saw the wedding of NBA basketball player Green, Draymond Green.
Oh, okay.
They were outdoors, and it was kind of really unique. It was like a catwalk style ceremony entrance. You know, the catwalk is kind of in right now, where we've got the mirrored ground and the mirrored floor. The guests that were on this side, on the left, had umbrellas. They were all black, and they had a little monogram on them. And all the guests on the right were shaded by the building. So give everybody umbrellas. Protect them from the sun. But it was just a unique concept. I was like, oh, not everybody got umbrellas because they're on the side where the sun was not an issue. So, but it looked really, it didn't look out of place. It just like one side had umbrellas. Everybody sat underneath.
Yep. And I know we kind of like mentioned this, a little bit ago, but when it turns dark, again, make sure you have enough light.
Yes.
So if you have like bistro lighting or
uplighting,
uplighting
lighting.
Uplighting is.
Are you talking about like over top lighting?
Over like bistro lighting, yeah.
Yeah.
Over top. I would recommend that. I mean, uplighting is great great accent lighting, but it doesn't light up the area.
Yeah.
That would be great just to kind of like give accents of color throughout the property.
So almost like if you had the columns, you could put the lights on top of the columns.
Which they did, yeah.
Looked down, so that would be helpful.
But the rest of the property in the past wedding, they just had lighting like right on the dance floor, but the rest of the property was dark.
Oh.
So the house was lit up, but like the
so like some really cool. They have.
I had Weber Scenic did like a whole like design, and it actually looked like a heart the way they did it. I had a drone up top, and I actually reached out to Jeffrey afterwards because I saw the video. I was like, "Did you?"
I want to see the video.
I was like, "Did you know you did? Did you know you did this?" He's like, "Well, yeah, that's the whole point of it." And the bistro lighting was in the shape of a heart.
Oh, that's so
you would
cute.
never know as a guest. It lit up the entire area perfectly, and then like where the DJ area was. We had like the dance floor lighting and everything. So that was at least everything else was pretty much lit up. But where you're dancing, you like it to be a little bit more like moody and dark and everything. But yeah, that was really cool.
I'm going to see that video. I'm excited to see that.
See if I can find it.
What's his name that does the Rainer? He does a lot of rentals, and he does like the cute
lit up
so
furniture.
It's furniture and even like cool statues and those swings and things of that nature. You can keep them white. You don't have to do color if that's not your vibe. If you're going for something super like clean and minimalist, so you can set up those lighted areas and furniture and things of that nature. And he rents those out, and they're gorgeous.
Yeah.
You could totally like use that as dual functioning furniture, seeing lounging areas with some fans on those lounging areas, but also providing light.
Yeah. So that being said, it's not that you can't do outdoor weddings here in Florida. Just be prepared.
Yeah.
So just a recap of tips. One, always hire a wedding planner, whether it's always hire a wedding planner, even if it's a DIY in your backyard or at an outdoor wedding venue.
And I would say if you're doing outdoor and you're out of town, please hire that planner at least 3 to 4 months, because it's going to take that much time for them to basically backpedal and get these things secured that should have already been secured 6 months prior or so. So if you're doing outdoor, there's a lot more moving parts that go into it, especially if you're not here in our area. Hire them sooner than you normally think that you should, because they're going to do a lot of like saving your ass.
Yeah, seriously.
Rather than hiring them like 6 weeks out. 6 weeks out, you're behind the game, and it's going to cost you more.
Probably
because they're going to have to do so much work. It's going to cost you more as the client to hire that planner because there's so much extra work, and it's also going to cost you more to supply the things that you need to get.
Yep. So hire a wedding planner. Rain plan.
Yep. Tent.
Bathrooms. And then
electric, AC, fans.
Yeah, anything that you could think of. And then, take into consideration attire for your guests.
Yep.
Some extra little props or like the personal fans,
Yep.
just to keep guests cool.
Have a misting station even.
Yeah,
Like you could really kind of, use that to your advantage and, do like a ice cream station or something of that nature. Something that's going to provide hydration and cooling.
And lights. Make sure you have light.
Yes, a lot of lighting.
Lighting is good because not most outdoor, especially if it's like in a private property, doesn't have light. So those are your tips for doing an outdoor wedding. So if you're planning on doing an outdoor wedding here in Florida, you want to listen to this podcast. That's going to do it for us. This is a short one, but we had to make it short because we got to go. Anything else
to do?
Yeah, we got to prepare for our wedding season coming up in just a couple short weeks.
Yeah,
it is right around the corner.
It is.
And I will be at Molly's. I'll be at Molly's on Friday.
Oh, I got no plans on Friday.
And I think
y'all should all come out Friday.
I think we might run it back with Joey.
Let's run it back.
Let's run it back. Joey, if you hear this,
do a little something.
We're gonna run it back. So come to Molly's Friday, and then like after this, like I'm only at Molly's like sporadically during wedding season. So and it's usually Fridays.
So if you want to catch Tim in all his glory, and
right.
you haven't pulled the trigger, which I don't know why you haven't,
and you want a little bit of ratchet hour, come to Molly's downtown Sarasota.
Yeah, it's always a good time.
That's right. But that's gonna do it for us. I am Tim Schaus, your premier DJ with TLS Entertainment. Of course, the wonderful, beautiful Brandy Harlan, your non-retired wedding planner. That's gonna do it for us.
Peace and chicken grease.